India's permanent envoy to the United Nations, Asoke Mukherjee, is hopeful of an amicable solution to the Indo-US stalemate over Devyani Khobragade. Speaking to Foreign Affairs editor Saurabh Shukla, Mukherjee said that the transfer of the diplomat to the United Nations has already been conveyed.
We have with us a very special guest today, one of India's most senior diplomats in the US, Ambassador to the UN, Asoke Mukherjee. Welcome to Headlines Today, sir.
Thank you.
Ambassador Mukherjee, Devyani Khobragade, the Indian diplomat, is now employed with India's mission to the UN. And I believe you also informed the UN authorities that she is now a consular here. So what are the next steps now? How does she get her diplomatic immunity?
Well, the process is actually quite well known. It starts with a letter which I have written to UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, informing him that Dr. Devyani Khobragade has been transferred to our delegation to the United Nations, that she has the diplomatic rank of a consular, indicating to the Secretary General of the United Nations her seniority in terms of our delegation list and at what position her name should be printed in the diplomatic list which is published by the United Nations. Along with that letter of the forms giving details of the diplomat have been forwarded to the protocol department of the United Nations, whose responsibility it is to process the forms in order to get accreditation from the US State Department accrediting Dr. Khobragade as a diplomat working in the United Nations. These forms were put in to the United Nations protocol, and they have been processed and are being sent to the US State Department for them to issue a diplomatic identity card.
I believe, obviously, you have been in touch with Devyani. She is determined to be here and work despite whatever has happened to her. What has she told you?
Well, she has joined. I have had a meeting with her and the other officers, and we have welcomed her into our team here at the United Nations. And I think that once the accreditation is done, she will be able to work effectively and fulfill all the responsibilities that are given to her.
I've been talking to a lot of diplomats here at the UN as well, and a lot of them felt that the incident like this shouldn't have happened at all, because India and the US enjoy a very good relationship. This clouds the relationship and obviously takes focus away from the real goals, that is bilateral relationship. So what has been your experience? Have you been asked by many of your colleagues there at the UN what's happening? What is this issue about?
Well, I must tell you that most of my colleagues at the United Nations have got to know about the case from the American newspapers like New York Times and Washington Post. And uniformly, most of them are shocked and surprised that such a thing has happened. So there is a sense of solidarity with India in this sense.
As a senior diplomat who understands the diplomatic processes very well, do you think that in some ways the US prosecutor, Mr. Bharara, went out of its limits, and his statements have certainly created more problems for this relationship?
I do not know much about this because I do not deal with the bilateral aspect at all.
Ambassador Mukherjee, thank you very much for talking to us. Thank you. That was Ambassador Asoke Mukherjee telling us that Devyani now hopes to have a very good career here at the India's UN mission, and he's hopeful that she will be able to get her diplomatic ID card very soon, which will be really the key for her to resume a career here and to ensure that her troubles end. In New York with Alok Bhatnagar, this is Saurabh Shukla for Headlines Today.